What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl D. If it's your first time here, you're watching the Big Apple Prepper. So today we're going to be talking about pressure canning supplies. Well, I'm not actually going to be showing you guys how to do any canning. We are going to go over some of the basic supplies that you are going to need to get started on your canning journey. Now, why is canning so important? In a day and age where food insecurity is huge and all over the news, you may want to get started on your pressure canning journey. So basically, pressure canning allows you to have a whole meal that you can open at a moment's notice and just eat it out of the jar. You can heat it up and make it nice and flavorful. You can add some rice, which I like to keep some of the sticky rice on hand. To add to my meal, I kind of just like to pour this over my rice. A lot of my ready-to-go meals, I plan to put on rice, but you don't have to. So like I said, they're great meals ready to go when you're sick, when you're emergency, blackout, anybody else that you're going to visit that's sick, that you could give it to them. And specifically for me, because I'm disabled, sometimes I just don't have the strength to cook. So it's great to just crack open an already cooked healthy meal that I know that I've made myself. So we're going to be going over some of the tools today that you're going to need, and we're going to do some pressure canning in future videos. But today we're just going to talk about the tools. So the first thing I want to talk about is the jars themselves. So here we have a quart-sized jar, we have a half-pint jar, and we have a quart jar. Sorry. So there's many different types of jars when it comes to pressure canning, and you can basically buy these jars wholesale. Sometimes like dollar stores will sell them individually, but you're better off just buying a large amount at once wholesale. These wide mouth jars are cheaper than regular mouth jars. So there's two different types of mouths, which is these guys that go straight, and then these guys that have a little bit of a neck. So these guys you'd probably find more accessories for. Now, when it comes to the littler jars, like the smaller ones, they're great for jams, salsas, jellies, things of that nature. But when it comes to these larger jars, you're looking at whole meals or possibly like a good side dish, like some tomatoes or carrots or something of that nature that you can do in there. So those are jars that the different sizes. Now, when it comes to selecting a jar, you kind of want to steer away from vintage jars that your grandmother used, because they could be old and brittle. You might also want to avoid reusing any type of commercial jars from mayonnaise or anything like that, because they might not be able to withstand the heat once they go into your pressure canner, and they might explode and you're gonna have to clean up a mess, and who knows if your toilet can handle that much like clogged stuff going in there. It's just gonna be a mess. It's gonna be nasty. So you want to get the ball, a brand ball, okay, and you want to get them in bulk, and you want to try to get wide mouth if you can. So those are my recommendations. Now, when it comes to canning, another thing that you need to know is about the lids. The lids, there's three different parts to these jars. So you have the glass components, okay? You have the lids and you have the bands. So those are your three components, okay? When it comes to the jars themselves, they are reusable. However, if you really look at this jar and look closely, there's some kind of white residue on it, and that is mineral buildup. And the way to avoid mineral buildup is to get some vinegar, and you're going to use a little dash of vinegar into your pressure canner before you get started to avoid the mineral buildup. I believe it's 1 cup that goes in there. I usually just kind of do a free pour and pray and hope for the best. So don't be like me. Say as I do, do not as I say. So that's the jars, the situation on the jars. Now, when it comes to the lids, there is a orange compound that goes around the lid itself, and this is what creates the vacuum seal. This is why these lids are one-time usable. You cannot reuse these lids once they've been through the pressure canning process, and the reason why is that this orange seal is never going to be the same again after one-time use, so you're never going to get that really good seal. And I'm going to show you what a really good seal looks like. So this is some chicken chili verde that I canned, and a really good seal, you should be able to really kind of try to pry that lid off, and it shouldn't be able to come off super easy. So that is a good seal. Once you crack that seal open, by the way, it's just, like I said, you should never use these lids again, and they go into the trash, recycle, whatever it is you guys want to do with them, create some nice little art project with them, I don't know. They do have some reusable lids that you can buy, and they look like this, and they come with a rubber gasket, and you would put that together, and you would be able to reuse this after you've pressure canned with it once. You would just clean it and be ready for your next use, and this is what that would look like. Okay, so those are your reusable lids and your disposable lids, and you're always going to need more lids than jars because you're just going to go through lids far more. And last year there was a whole shortage on lids. Let's not even get started. So that's why I try to get reusable lids if I can, because if I want to pressure can something and there's no lids available anywhere, I want to be able to know that I can still do what I want to do and just get it done, you know, not worry about, oh, I can't get lids online or in the store. So those are your jars. The next thing that I want to talk about is measurements. Okay, so I do like to have this metal scoop, and this is 1 cup. So once you divide your food, once all your food is chopped up, this metal scoop is helpful when you go into your bowl for your meats. And basically what that would look like is you're going to have your jar open. You're going to have your jar on a scale. You're going to need a scale that has different units of measure. You're going to place your jar onto the scale with your metal funnel, I believe this is. So you have your metal funnel like that. You're going to use your metal scoop. You're going to scoop out your meats and you're going to throw them in like that, and that will be 1 cup exactly, rather than using a whole measuring cup. It's just more helpful when you do canning often to have the right supplies. So I find this more helpful. You also do want to keep some measuring spoons on hand, and this is good for your seasonings. So anything that you're going to be seasoning your meals with, these are great. I like to keep my measuring spoons nearby, and I just love them. They're so cute. Look at how cute they are. Oh God. I love working with cute stuff, you guys. Oh my God. To die for. I think I got these in Mohonk Mountain House when I went upstate to New Paltz like years ago, and I've just had them ever since. I've had them for like at least 15 years. Anyway, I digress. The next thing you're going to want to have is a canning sterilizer rack, and it looks like this. This is where you're going to put your reusable lids on, and you're going to also want to have about a medium saucepan because you're going to do some simmering water and place your lids in there. And once they are nice and simmered, not boiled, simmered, you're going to take them out and put them on the drying rack, and that your lids are nice and sterile, ready to use. It's very important, you guys, that you wash everything before you get started, because you don't want to do any type of contamination while you're preparing your meals. You also want to have a magnetic tool of some sort, and this is how you're going to grab your lid. And once you're done with all your canning stuff in your jar, you're going to use that magnetic tool to place your lid onto the jar and not touch the inner part, right? So we're not going to want to touch the outer rims of that. We just want to lay it flat. But before you do that, you also want to use some white vinegar back and just retouch your jars. So after your jars are retouched, then you put your lid on. Also, some recipes, they're going to call for broth to be filled with about an inch of headspace at the top of your jar. So you're also going to want a ladle for sure. And when you heat up your broth in your saucepan, you're going to be taking your broth out and you're going to be putting it into your jar. Headspace, by the way, is the space between the top of the very top of the jar to where they tell you to fill to. If you fill your jar way too high, then that means your jar can end up bursting inside the pressure canner, and you're gonna have that mess to clean up, and you're gonna have to spill it down your toilet or in your sink. It's just not gonna be fun. So yes, you always want to make sure that whatever the recipe calls for that you're making, that you're paying attention to the headspace, and that you have your tools of measure to make sure that you are not too close to the top of that jar. The next thing I prefer to use is these silicone tongs, and I like to use this when I get ready to fill my jars, right? So I'm going to start moving some stuff to give you guys an idea of how I do this. I have a very small kitchen, so because of that, I bought like this Pyrex dish set, and I know the one at the top is Hello Kitty. I love it. I actually bought this when I went to China. It's so cute. Oh God, I love it. Anyway, my Pyrex dishes, I got them in Costco. I think I paid like 20 bucks for all 4 of them. And this one's already has like some chopped stuff in it because I'm getting ready to can again soon. But look at how cute that is. It's like Minnie Mouse. Oh my God, you guys. I love. Okay, so once I'm ready to get my ingredients into my jar, I have everything chopped first, and I just stack everything on top because I have a very tiny kitchen. And then I will either use my scoop or my measuring cups and use that to get it into the jars, okay? And then you use the ladle to fill. Now, once everything is nice and sealed, I'm gonna go through this scene just one time so you guys can, if it's your first time. So, first thing, you have your scale, your jar, your metal scoop, right? Sorry, your metal funnel. Next thing, you're going to be scooping. Let's say the meat is in this huge measuring cup, for example. I'm going to be scooping the meat. I'm going to be putting it in here. And then whatever measure they're telling me to go into these bowls, I'm going to be taking out and putting it in there and putting it in there. And then I'm going to be using this ladle for broth to fill that to my headspace. And once everything is in there, I'm going to use my bubble tool. And this is what I push down my meat all around to make sure that there is no spaces anywhere in the jar. Then I am going to get a fresh lid. Oh my gosh. I put this in the wrong way while I was talking, you guys, but imagine that I didn't just do that. Put the lid on, just like that, and then I would get my band on there and I would turn it like so. Then I would get my jar lifter and I'd pick this jar up and get it into my pressure canner. And that would be that. So the next thing I want to show you guys is what the pressure canner itself would be like. The pressure canner itself, I've bought this one used on Goodwill. This pressure canner is a Presto 23 quart pressure canner, and I replaced the steam gauge, and I also bought a weight. So it's also important that you guys buy any replacement components for the exact model of your pressure canner. Do not make the mistake to buy the wrong weight for your pressure canner, or the wrong steam gauge, or the wrong type of gasket. I always call this thing the gasket, and I think it's called like sealing something. Oh my god, wait, I have it written down here. This is called a sealing ring gasket, and I always call it just a gasket. They make it look so easy, you guys. Oh my god. Okay. So, this is your sealing gasket, I believe. Sealing ring gasket. And I've replaced this as well because, like I said, I bought it used and I had to scrub everything and whatever. So, the reason why the replacement of this gasket was important is that if it is brittle or cracked, you're not going to get a really good seal on your pressure canner, and therefore your pressure canner might not come up to pressure. The weighted gauge on your pressure canner, this goes based off of your sea level. So 0 to 1,000 above sea level means that you get 10 pounds of weight. Anything above 1,000 gets 15 pounds of weight. So if you live somewhere in the middle of the country like Colorado or whatever, you're probably going to put 15 pounds. If you live somewhere like in New York City, you're probably going to use 10 pounds, okay? And it is adjustable. Every pressure canner is a little bit different, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about the weight itself, but you just want to make sure that you have the right weight for where you live. The steam gauge, you want to make sure that it reaches up to 240 degrees when you're pressure canning, according to the USD guidelines. So this is important that your steam gauge work, but just in case it doesn't come up to pressure, you are going to add this weight, and then your pressure gauge should come up to pressure. Inside your pressure canner, you have your pressure canning racks. And your racks are important because, like I said, since I bought mine used, it didn't have these components and I had to research. Your canning racks are important because you don't want your jars, when they go in, when they start rattling from the steam, you don't want them to break. So this is important to prevent breakage inside your pressure canner. You're also going to want some form of measure, because as you saw, that was dripping wet. It's because I'm getting ready to pressure can again. Most recipes will call between 2 to 3 inches of water inside your pressure canner when you're getting started, and you're going to want something to measure the height of your water inside the pressure canner. So I use just a simple ruler because you're just literally dipping it in and out. The last thing that I have as an accessory is your storage, because guys, after you're done doing all the hard work, you don't want to destroy your pressure canning by storing it incorrectly. So people that have more space, they're going to build this shrine wall of just pressure canning jars where they're going to be able to go into their pantry and just grab a meal. Okay, people that live in the city, like the way I do, we don't have that kind of space. So I would recommend you get something like this. So it's basically a stackable storage. This one is made by Roots Harvest. Okay, the most important thing is proper storage, because you don't want to do your pressure canning and then have this jar sit on top of another jar, because that could destroy your seal and that could make your food contaminated, and it could just cause a lot of problems. So a proper storage system where the tops of your cans are not touching each other is very important, and either that or building your proper wall with your shelving units. So that is everything I have for you guys as far as accessories go. Obviously, as you guys get started, you're probably going to add more things, maybe a nice cutting board or whatever it is you guys want to throw in there. I think these are the pretty basic supplies that you're going to need, and I apologize for any stuttering, any hesitant comments that I say, anything like that. I do have a traumatic brain injury, and I have a disability, and I do the best I can every day. And I did just get out this week for one of the first times where I went to a festival, and they gave away these beautiful flowers, not at the festival, but off the festival, where this flower shop was trying to get rid of their flowers right before the expiration date or something like that. So I'm super ecstatic about that, and I had to show you guys this before I was done talking about everything. But if you guys don't see an accessory, if I missed something, please feel free to comment, share, like, and subscribe. Like I said, I do the best I can, so please, just be nice. That's all I can say. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.